You are now tuned into a brand new episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K. Sapp. Well, it's the day after, 24 hours to process Shedeur Sanders' second half debut against the Baltimore Ravens, and Cam Newton had time today. Cam Newton straight bodied Kevin Stefanski and Dan Orlovsky. And we're going to get off into all that right after this. Well, guys, man, I'm here to tell you, man, Cam Newton has been 10 toes down on what he has stated about Kevin Stefanski sabotaging Shedeur Sanders, disliking Shedeur Sanders, and hating Shedeur Sanders. Now, we all heard what Dan Orlovsky said early in preseason about Shedeur Sanders. He said that Dylan Gabriel puts out better tape than Shedeur Sanders in the preseason. Now, we all know Dan Orlovsky is a hater. We all know Dan Orlovsky had an unsuccessful quarterback career in the NFL, relegated to a backup. And Dan Orlovsky has been speaking out the side of his neck ever since the second half debut of Shedeur Sanders. And Cam Newton had time today. Listening to ESPN First Take, shout out to them, courtesy of ESPN First Take. Cam Newton went crazy on Kevin Stefanski and Dan Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky gave his take on what he thought about Shedeur Sanders and this notion about y'all blowing this, not getting no reps out of proportion. And Cam Newton straight crucified him, put him to bed, and at the same time had some things to say to Kevin Stefanski as he looked directly into the camera. Now, Cam Newton has came out and said this before, and he's not backing down on it. He said, by your actions, you're showing us that you dislike Shedeur Sanders. And Stephen A. even weighed in on it and talking about this right here is an indictment on Kevin Stefanski. And I'm blaming Kevin Stefanski for putting Shedeur Sanders out there unprepared. But before we get off into what they was talking about, we partnered up with Underdog Fantasy. And this is a word from our sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy sports. Let me tell you about the easiest way to get in on some WNBA and NBA action. Find your player, pick higher or lower, win you some extra cash. Pick between 2 to 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry, get every pick right, and win some serious cash. Use my promo code SBD23 and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Now that it's football time, follow Simply Ball Dropping as I share my picks. Like I said, pick your player, choose your amount, win money. Make picks, win cash. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for the partnership with us. And thank you for using promo code SBD23 on Underdog Fantasy. Now, guys, with that being said, let's take a listen to what Cam Newton, Stephen A. Smith, and Dan Orlovsky was talking about today on First Take. Sit back and enjoy. You guys heard what Cam Newton had to say. Y'all heard what Cam Newton had to say. Cam Newton kept it a buck. He dropped the mic on him. I dropped the bomb on him. He shut Dan Orlovsky up. Dan Orlovsky was talking out the side of his neck, and he looked directly in the camera and gave Kevin Stefanski a piece of his mind. And that's spoken from an MVP as a quarterback, and a quarterback that went to the Super Bowl with the Carolina Panthers. And he said that Derek Anderson was a blessing in disguise because Derek Anderson was getting reps as the backup, because you always play for the what ifs. You're one play away from not being out there, and you got to have your backup quarterback prepared with some reps with the first team just in case his number's called upon. And that's what I'm talking about. Cam Newton is standing 10 toes down and he has always said that Kevin Stefanski does not want Shedeur Sanders to succeed in Cleveland. And he said, if I was a Shedeur Sanders fan base, I wouldn't want to see Shedeur Sanders out there under this regime. I see everybody in the comment section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, come on board. Subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Also, if you haven't joined the channel, hit the join. Become a member. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.